Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about Percy Jackson and the weekend that we had at D23. So obviously this past weekend was D23, which long story short is basically this expo convention that Disney has where they get to announce and promote a lot of their upcoming projects. And this year, we got Percy Jackson news. If you remember, Percy Jackson also got to go to D23 in 2022. That's actually where we got the first ever footage for Percy Jackson. I remember it vividly. I cried like a baby when that footage dropped. If you've been here since reacting to that footage, you're a real one. But 2 years later, and here we are with season 2 coming out. I guess time flies when you're having fun. No, but seriously, I remember the lead up to season 1 of Percy Jackson feeling like it was taking forever to get to season 1, living off of these crumbs. And when I say crumbs, I mean literal crumbs. And I remember thinking like, oh, it's gonna take so long for season 1 to come out, and then we're gonna have to wait so long for season 2 to come out. But in actuality, it doesn't feel like it's been that long. It's kind of going by a lot faster than I thought it would, which is a little bit scary because that means I'm also aging faster. The passage of time is a crazy thing. But anyways, back to Percy Jackson. So we got news from them on both Friday and Saturday of this weekend. So let's start with what we got on Friday. Friday was the big Disney entertainment showcase where basically Disney got to do its presentations for like Disney Animation, Pixar, Star Wars, Marvel, and some miscellaneous things, and Percy Jackson fell under the miscellaneous category. I had no idea that they were going to be on the Disney Entertainment Showcase stage. So me and my boyfriend were staying up late on Friday, like waiting for Marvel news. And all of a sudden he comes running into our room and he's like, Percy Jackson's on stage, Percy Jackson's on stage. And I was like, what do you mean? It was a roller coaster of emotions. But so on Friday night, Percy Jackson took to the stage about 2 hours into this 3-hour-long panel to talk about season 2 of the show. Obviously, we all know that season 2 is going to follow the events of the book Sea of Monsters. We got a little 50-second teaser clip, if you will, that mostly showcased clips from season 1. But the clips did have a new voiceover from Walker.
My name is Percy Jackson. I am a demigod. Monsters come at me. So do the gods.
And everyone's immediate reaction to this teaser is that Walker's voice dropped like 7 octaves. And a lot of people were freaking out about it because Walker aging is oddly a really hot topic within the Percy Jackson fandom. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think aging is very normal. And I think it's really weird that people constantly feel the need to point out that Walker's aging. Puberty exists. Walker getting taller, his voice getting deeper, like all of these things that are very natural and normal for a 15, 16-year-old boy to go through. I feel really bad that like he has to deal with people constantly pointing this out. I feel like the last thing you want when you're going through puberty, whether you're a boy or a girl, is like people pointing their fingers at you and like putting you under a magnifying glass. So I'm never really one to make comments about Walker being taller or looking older for multiple reasons. Number one, I'm still like a decade older than him. So he could grow to be 7 feet tall and he's still a child to me, right? And second of all, I see it as just so normal. Like, I don't know why people like to make such a big deal out of it. But nonetheless, his voice is very much deeper in this voiceover, and people were freaking out about it. They were losing their minds about it. I don't think that Walker's voice is actually as deep as it was in the voiceover. Like, when you watch Walker in interviews, his voice is not as deep as it is in that voiceover. So I think Walker was kind of just putting on a show in the recording booth when it came to making that voiceover. He like had his Batman voice on. His voice is not really that deep. People were, of course, freaking out over nothing. And if his voice gets deeper, literally so what? Sorry, I just felt like I needed to address that because I feel like I get defensive when I see people constantly trying to like point out Walker's aging, his growing, etc., because I just feel like it's not something that needs to be talked about 24/7. People grow, people age. Like I mentioned, the passage of time is crazy. Get over it. Anyways, back to the teaser trailer. At the very end of like this 50-second clip, we actually did get our very first footage from season 2 of Percy Jackson. We got a couple of B-roll, like close-up shots of Percy in a chariot, confirming that the chariot scene from the beginning of the book is going to be in the show, which, not to sound like a broken record, is very exciting because, as we all know, that is not in the movie. It's gonna be so crazy when we get to season 3 of this show and I can no longer say they didn't do this in the movie because the movies didn't even get to book 3. So we got some close-up shots of the chariot and we got some close-up shots of Percy's face. And even though these shots are like small and like only close-up shots, I feel like you can really tell that the budget has increased from season 1 to season 2. I don't know what it is, maybe I'm crazy. The shots just look sharper and everything just looks like a little bit more professional. I don't know if maybe that's just me, but I feel like I can tell the budget has increased just with these shots alone. Not to mention the chariot looks really cool from what we've been able to see so far. The chariot being real and physically made, I think is really impressive. As you guys know, if you've been here for a while and watch any of my other Percy Jackson videos, I'm a huge fan of the set production of the show. I'm a huge fan of Dan Henna, who is the production designer. So every time anything is like physically made on this show, I like to talk about it and give props to it because set production is something that very much fascinates me. So I love the design for the chariot. Blue, obviously, it's got tridents on it, and then it looks like it has shark teeth around it, which I think is a cool design. And honestly, if this is Percy's chariot, I cannot wait to see what Annabeth's looks like. And also, I have to point out, season 2 has been in production for literally 1 week. Like, they started production on Monday, I'm pretty sure. They went from Vancouver to California for D23 like on Friday. And I'm sure today they're probably headed back to Vancouver. Like, they've literally only been in production for like 4 days max. So I really appreciate them doing what they can to get us a couple of crumbs for season 2. We also got our first official poster for season 2 of Percy Jackson. I'll put it right here so you can see it. Basically, it's the Camp Half-Blood flag, like tattered, beaten, and discarded in the ocean. There's a storm rolling in over the horizon because a big storm's coming. And I think that this poster really captures the essence of season 2. I also think we're going to see the show get darker in like a literal sense as we progress to season 5. Kind of like the Harry Potter movies. I know, not to be taboo, I know the Harry Potter fandom and the Percy Jackson fandom don't like each other, but Harry Potter is the best example I can think of where the earlier films are a little bit more lighter, like warm toned, sun is in the sky, and as we progress to like Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Deathly Hallows Part 2, like it gets darker every single movie, the sun kind of never comes out anymore, the color grading is all very dark. I feel like we're going to see that progression with Percy Jackson, but the most important thing on this official poster is that it confirmed that season 2 is going to be streaming in 2025, which is literally next year. That is an incredibly impressive turnaround rate if you ask me, especially if you consider the fact that they had to wait for Disney to renew season 2. The writing process of the scripts for season 2 were halted due to the writer's strikes. And on top of all of this, they've been working around the school schedule of these child actors. So there's a lot of components that could easily slow down this production and make it harder to pump the seasons out, but they seem to be fighting those components, taking it in stride, and the fact that we get season 2 next year, even if it's in December, I think is incredibly exciting. All right, moving on to Saturday. Percy Jackson had their hour-long panel on the premiere stage at D23, and this is by far the largest panel that we've had like in the history of this fandom, with the panel consisting of executive producers John E. Steinberg and Dan Schatz, and newly added producer Craig Silverstein. Of course, our main trio also joined the panel on stage, along with Charlie Bushnell and Diorga John, which was very exciting. We all know that the characters of Luke and Clarice are going to be bigger components in season 2, so it's really exciting to hear from the actors that play those characters. And as the panel progressed, they brought out Toby Stephens, Daniel Dimer, and Jason Mantzoukas. Obviously, it was super exciting to see Toby Stephens and Jason Mantzoukas out there, but it was even more exciting for Daniel to be there because this is the first time we've seen him with the cast since the announcement of him playing Tyson. And of course, it seems like he fits right in. They all seem to get along really, really well. I will never doubt the casting department for Percy Jackson. This panel, unfortunately, was a little disappointing because not many questions were asked that like gave us substance and information on season 2. And I'm sure there's limits to what could be asked because we don't want to give away spoilers or anything, but I think we could have asked questions that like relate to the books and ask like how the actors are excited to portray certain things. I know for me, I really wanted to see somebody ask like either Leah or Daniel if they're excited or nervous to portray the very complex relationship between Annabeth and Tyson, but that's just me. I think the only bit of news we got from season 2 in the panel is when Daniel was talking about Tyson's Cyclops eye, and he said that there's no prosthetics involved and there's also no dots on his face, and I can't tell if he's joking or not because I can't figure out how they're gonna do the one eye if they're not using like real life prosthetics and they're not using the dots for CGI. So I'm very interested to learn more about that. I genuinely can't tell if he's like making a very dry sense of humor joke or if he's being serious. The biggest thing that happened at this panel is that we got a casting announcement. They announced the actresses who are going to be playing the Grey sisters, who are famously known for owning a taxi company and transporting Percy to camp at the beginning of the Sea of Monsters. So Sandra Bernhardt will be playing Anger, Kristen Schaal will play Tempest, and Margaret Cho will play Wasp. I don't know much about these actresses, but the general public seems to be very excited about this casting, so I'm sure they will be phenomenal. And that is unfortunately the only casting news that we got at this panel. I know a lot of people are probably disappointed because I think a lot of us were expecting or at least hoping that we would get Thalia's casting, but I actually have a hot take on this. I'm okay with the fact that we only got the casting news of the Grey sisters because we have such a long road ahead of us before season 2 comes out. Like I said, they've only been in production for 1 week. So if they announced too much casting at D23, we would have to go longer with radio silence from the Percy Jackson team. This way, now we can have sporadic casting announcements throughout the next couple months as we get closer and closer to the release of season 2. Meaning we get to keep the hype and the conversation around the season active as we wait for it to come out. And now that it's been a day, because I'm filming this on Sunday, I've seen a lot of people say that they actually hope they keep Thalia's casting a secret until the end of season 2 so that it's a surprise like it is in the books. And to that, I want to say I'm like 80 to 90% confident that they're going to be inserting flashbacks into season 2 of Thalia, Luke, and baby Annabeth. Not only to give us more background on the character of Thalia, especially considering how much Thalia is mentioned in season 1, but also to help unpack the relationship between Annabeth and Luke, considering that the weight of Luke's betrayal is going to be a really big part of season 2. I think Annabeth is going to be going through a lot of internal stuff, and I think flashbacks are going to be a way to show us that. So while the notion of keeping the actress a surprise is fun, I don't really see that happening, especially if she's used for flashbacks, like we might even see her in episode 1. And I feel like even if they wanted to keep her a secret, it would somehow get leaked anyways. But no matter what they do with Thalia's casting, we still have so much casting to look forward to when it comes to season 2. We've got Selena, we've got Charles, Tantalus, Polyphemus, Cersei, Connor and Travis Stoll, and probably a lot more that I'm forgetting. I really need to reread Sea of Monsters. But regardless, I'm happy with the news that we got, and I'm incredibly happy with the footage that we've seen so far of season 2. I have no idea when we're going to see the cast next. I think this is kind of like the last big convention for a while. We have New York Comic Con coming up in October, but it's not confirmed that Percy Jackson is going to be there, so I don't know. I know that Percy Jackson went to New York Comic Con in 2023, and there they showed the first 10 minutes of the first episode, plus they also showed footage from the Capture the Flag scene. Season 1 of Percy Jackson wrapped filming in February of 2023, so by the time they got to New York Comic Con, the show had been in post-production for like 8 months. So they had a lot of time to get that footage ready for us. So if Percy Jackson does go to New York Comic Con this year, I don't expect much footage or any footage at all, but we could definitely anticipate maybe some casting news if they go to New York Comic Con. Like I said, I have no idea if they have any plans to go this year. But now it's pretty much just a waiting game. They're going to be back in Vancouver and they're going to be filming for the foreseeable future, so who knows? Maybe Rick will give us a blog update at some point. Who knows? Maybe Thalia's casting will drop on a random Tuesday. It's kind of fun. They're going to be keeping us on our toes for sure. But that's the gist of everything we got from Percy Jackson at D23 this year. I can't wait for more news about season 2 to come out. It's so crazy how just the very, very small clips that we got of season 2 already make me infinitely more excited than I already was. I'm just really excited to see how great season 2 looks. I think all the actors are going to be way more comfortable in their characters, and overall, I think it's just going to be a really great time. Let me know what you think of the footage that we got so far of season 2. And also let me know what you think they should do about Thalia's casting. Should they keep it a surprise or should they just go ahead and tell us? I'm curious what you guys think. Make sure you follow me on all my other social medias, especially Twitter. I tweet a lot about Percy Jackson. I was live tweeting about the panel yesterday. It was really fun. Make sure you check out the podcast that I have with my boyfriend. And make sure you check out my Patreon. Over there, I have reaction videos and commentary tracks to season 1 of Percy Jackson. Plus, soon we are about to be watching the Percy Jackson movies. So that's definitely going to be a time. You can either be a free member or a paid member on my Patreon, so make sure you check it out. The link is in the description down below. But that pretty much does it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.